Hello again, my little conscripts, and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. Today's episode is going to be a quick tip tactica. This time, deep diving everyone's favourite gas mask boys, the Death Corps of Krieg. Specifically, I want to get into the Death Corps of Krieg command squads and why they might just be the new best command squads in all of the Imperial Guard. A bold statement to be sure. I'm going to need to back this up. So without further ado, let's fix bayonets and charge right into this thing.
Attention guardsmen, the Commissariat has detected you have not yet liked this video. Do so immediately or else you will face the Emperor's wrath. And anyone who has not yet subscribed to the channel will be transferred to the penal battalions. That is all. Move out!
As is tradition, let us begin with a brief refresher course on the Krieg Command Squad's datasheet. Now, if you're a Guard veteran who is eminently familiar with this unit, then please feel free to skip ahead to the next part of the video using the time stamps. But if you are a greenhorn, a fresh-faced conscript still wet behind the ears, then stick around because you'll find some pretty important information and context in this part. Beginning with the stat line, the Death Corps of Krieg Command Squad has actually got two stat lines, one to represent the officer leading the squad, in this case a Lord Commissar, and the other one to represent the veteran guardsman accompanying him. The Lord Commissar has a movement value of 6 inches, pretty normal in the Guard. You tend to find that you do go a little bit faster than that though, because you can obviously advance, but you've also got things like the move order, which can give you an extra 3 inches to your movement, which can be very useful if you're trying to get certain angles to fire, or you are trying to get onto an objective to lock that down. You've got toughness 3, 5+ save, and 3 wounds. That's not a very good defensive profile. Do not expect your Lord Commissar to go toe-to-toe with pretty much any other character in the game. He will die. Leadership 6 is nice though. It's a nice little touch because obviously this is a Commissar, not a regular officer, so he should have a bit better leadership. And then you've got objective control of 1. As the veteran guardsmen, they have a standard profile of movement 6, toughness 3, 5+ save, 1 wound, leadership 7, and objective control of 1. Overall, this is exactly what we would expect from an infantry unit like this. It's got that normal guardsman defensive profile, which is to say it's very soft and squishy and will die, but hey, such is life in the Guard. And because it is a more elite unit, we're not talking about a battle line infantry squad here, it's got a lower objective control of 1 over the usual guardsman OC of 2. However, it's important to note that, like with the movement stat, the objective control actually is realistically much higher than this, because most people in their command squads will be taking a regimental standard. In fact, I believe in the Krieg command squad, you actually have to take the regimental standard, which means that your objective control on this squad is +1, and it's also +1 for any unit they join as well, which is fantastic when you can get OC3 guardsmen if these guys are leading a squad of Kriegers. But truth be told, the stat line of the Krieg command squad is basically irrelevant because we take our officers not to be some sort of combat champions or super mega tanks, but instead to act as force multipliers. And the way they do this is via their weapons, war gear, and abilities. Taking a look at the unit composition, you can see that there is the Lord Commissar and 5 veteran guardsmen in this unit. And they come with a lot of different equipment and they have a lot of war gear options. If you're a new player, this can maybe be a little bit impenetrable and you might not know what the best loadout is. Don't worry, I've got you covered. You should always give your Lord Commissar a plasma pistol and power fist. You should give one of the guardsmen a plasma pistol and power sword. You should give another one of the guardsmen a plasma gun or a melter gun. Either one of those is a perfectly valid choice. And then you want to have the remaining guardsmen come with the equipment that they have to take, which is one guy as the medic. He's got the alchemic counter agents of the servo scribes, one chap with the master vox, and one chap with the regimental standard. This is going to give you a command squad with a nice amount of additional firepower for whatever squad they join. You're going to have a plasma gun or melter gun and a couple of plasma pistols. And although they'll probably still die in melee, you will have a little bit of extra melee potential as well with that power fist and that power sword. It's also going to give you lots of cool war gear abilities. So the Master Vox will allow you to issue orders up to 24 inches away, which, as we'll see in Grizzled Company, is actually really, really good. Before Grizzled Company, Master Vox was basically useless for the Krieg command squads. Now it's actually pretty decent. You've got the alchemic counter agents. These are basically a bag of shit. Don't worry about them. The servo scribes, though, are good, and I've got a neat little trick to show you later on with the servo scribes. And then we've got the regimental standard, which, as I mentioned before, give you an extra objective control, not only for the command squad, but also for the squad they're leading. Rounding out the datasheet, we have the Grim Determination ability. While this unit contains an officer, you can target this unit with stratagems even while it is battle shocked, and orders issued to this unit do not cease to affect this unit if it becomes battle shocked. It is important to note that this ability not only affects the command squad, but also affects the unit that the command squad is leading, which, whilst you have the choice of Krieg Combat Engineers or Death Corps of Krieg, 99 times out of 100, you're going to have these guys leading a unit of Death Corps of Krieg. I really like the Grim Determination ability. There are a lot of good stratagems in this detachment, and having a unit that can always take advantage of them is fantastic. And also, Grizzled Veterans is reliant on you having units affected by orders. So even if your big blob of Krieg, maybe it's a little bit diminished if it's getting battle shocked, ends up becoming battle shocked, you can still use orders, which means you can still get those sweet reroll ones. It just pairs very nicely and very naturally with Grizzled Company. Speaking of which, why don't we jump over to that detachment now and take a look at how it has massively improved the Krieg command squad. So first off, the Krieg command squad, being an officer unit, benefits from the first part of the Ruthless Discipline detachment rule. Add 1 to the number of orders each Astra Militarum officer model from your army can issue, as stated on their datasheet. Normally, Death Corps of Krieg command squads can only do 1 order. This boosts them up to 2 orders. Now, this might only seem like a little thing, but if you're a diehard Death Corps of Krieg player, this is the update you should be most excited for. And it's pretty simple why. You can now run max Krieg blobs with 3 command squads and have enough orders for all of them. You see, one of the most frustrating things about the Krieg since the Codex dropped has been the loss of the Death Corps Marshal. Death Corps Marshal was an independent character that actually allowed the Death Corps Krieg units to essentially do more orders if they needed them. And the issue is that ever since he went away, the Krieg, especially if you're running a pure Krieg army, have been suffering a bit of an order bottleneck. Because imagine you max out your Krieg blobs, you take 6 blobs of 20 of them. Well, if you're not in the Grizzled Veteran detachment, you've only got 3 available orders. So you can only order half of your Krieg blobs? That doesn't feel right. And if you wanted to try and get more orders for them, you had to start subbing Cadians in Cadian command squads and Creed and Leontus and all this kind of bollocks. And you probably just didn't want to do that. You're a Krieg player, right? It's something that a lot of Guard players feel like about their favourite regiment. Cadian players want to play pure Cadians. Catachans want to play pure Catachans. Mordians want to play pure Mordians somehow. And Kriegers want to play pure Krieg armies. And until Grizzled Company, that just wasn't really feasible. But now it absolutely is. Whether you are taking 6 blobs of Krieg and 3 command squads and doing a proper World War I infantry wave attack, or maybe you're taking 3 blobs of Krieg, 3 command squads, and then 3 artillery teams of siege cannons. However you slice it, you probably have enough orders now to support your pure Krieg army dreams. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm thinking something like, okay, let's go for 3 command squads, 4 blobs of Krieg, couple of artillery teams. That's going to come to a nice solid infantry corps. Then we could add in maybe 3 or 4 Lehman Russes. Got enough tank commanders to sort all of those out. No dramas whatsoever. And then we could start including some engineers and some Death Riders, units which maybe aren't as reliant on things like orders, or if they need them, can get them from things like the servo scribes. A unit of Death Riders probably isn't going to need an order more than once, because they're probably going to have fixed bayonets once, charge in, kill some stuff, and then die on the clapback. But that's all right. Now your servo scribes feel like they can actually do something. The point is, Ruthless Discipline fixes themed pure Krieg armies. It adds the flavor back in, and in so many ways, that almost feels like the most important update. But wait, there's more! Because you can also get your Death Corps of Krieg infantry to hit on 2s, rerolling 1s, and probably wound on 2s, rerolling 1s. That's right, who needs to be a Custodes? The second part of the Ruthless Discipline detachment rule states that if a unit is affected by an order, reroll 1s to hit. If the enemy is on an objective, reroll 1s to wound as well. The Death Corps of Krieg infantry squad has a datasheet ability called Grim Demeanor. Each time model in this unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll if this unit is below starting strength, and add 1 to the wound roll as well if this unit is below half strength. Taking this information and combining it with the fact that it is entirely possible, rules as written, to stack the order, Take Aim, and this Grim Demeanor ability. Take Aim gives you +1 to your ballistic skill characteristic. Grim Demeanor gives you +1 to hit on the dice roll, so they do stack. Means that your Death Corps of Krieg, as long as they have 1 dead model in their unit, are hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s in Ruthless Discipline in Grizzled Company. If they're below half strength, those plasma guns and melter guns are probably going to wound any infantry in the game on 2s. Because they're going to be strength 8 or 9 on the plasma guns and melter guns. Most infantry, I think all infantry in the game, apart from maybe Death Guard Terminators in a very specific circumstance, can get to like T8, T9, but that's one exception. Every other infantry in the game, yeah, they're lower than toughness 7. And so you'd wound them on 3s, but you're below half strength, so then you wound them on 2s, and if they're on an objective, you're rerolling 1s. This is from a battle line infantry squad. And you know what's crazy about all of this? Being below half strength isn't really such a bad thing in a Death Corps of Krieg blob. I mean, you're 26 man strong. You can lose 14 guys, which is actually just essentially all your basic lasgun bastards, and suddenly you get all of these boosts. All you need to do the meaningful damage is have 8, 9 models remaining in that 26-man blob. Because you want the 2 sergeants with their plasma pistols, the 2 plasma gun, the 2 melter gun guys, then you want the commissar and the guardsman with the plasma pistol, and then you want the other plasma gun guy in the Death Corps of Krieg command squad. You can lose everybody else. As long as you have those 9 blokes, the meaningful firepower from your squad is unaffected, and it's going to get really, really so much better. But we're not done yet. That's right. There's even more, because you have got the Aquilan Eye enhancement. Now, on the one hand, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s is very nice. But, you know, if you don't do Take Aim and you've lost 1 guy in the squad, you're still hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, which is still very accurate and still very nice. And you know what might be better? Getting a whole bunch of extra AP when you're in rapid fire range and melter gun range. Thanks to the Aquilan Eye enhancement. Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. And also you've got another option here. Aquilan Eye, ironically, is actually best used on weapons that don't roll to hit. Like Krieg heavy weapon teams. Now, before I said, you know, you've got enough orders now where you could order all 6 blobs of Death Corps Krieg with 3 command squads. But what if instead you had 3 blobs of Death Corps Krieg and then a few heavy weapon teams with the Krieg Flamers, which can now be AP -2 damaged who ignore cover with a cheeky bit of Aquilon's eye. And bear in mind that orders last until your next command phase. So you could move your heavy weapon teams out, flame the enemy. Then when they move, you could overwatch the enemy. Then if they kill your heavy weapon teams with shooting, you could fire on death, because that's the Krieg datasheet ability for their heavy weapon teams. And you could fire again. You could get 3 blasts of shooting, all affected by Aquilon's eye, out of a heavy weapon squad. And you now have the order efficiency, the bottleneck is gone to make that happen within a pure death core of Krieg army. It's amazing. Okay, but surely we must be done now. There can't possibly be anything else in this attachment which combos well with the death core of Krieg Command Squad and going down a more Krieg heavy army route. You're wrong. In fact, we've not even got to the best bit yet. That's right, the stratagems. And pretty much all of these are good with Krieg and Krieg Command Squads. You've got some obvious ones here, ones that I've covered in many other videos. Veteran Sharpshooters allows you to ignore cover. Great, straight up damage boost, and can be especially important if you've got some Marine unit that's dug into cover, because then they'll pop Armor of Contempt and it'll just be annoying. It's just one less thing for you to have to worry about. Take the cover away, fantastic. Purging Fire can be particularly good as well on battle line units, because typically your battle line are going to be moving on to objectives to try and dominate them with objective control. So you being on the objective and spaffing out lethal hits, great, no dramas whatsoever. You've also got additional armor. Now this, combined with being able to give the Kriegers like take cover, could give you a very durable blob on an objective, so that's nice. Although typically I feel like additional armor is best used on like big tanks and whatnot. You've got no retreat, which can allow your Kriegers to actually kind of encroach on the Cadian squad territory, because you can go one command point and I am going to sticky this objective with my Krieg blob and then I'm going to move off. Cadians think they're all that with their sticky objectives. Well, now you can have your cake and eat it again by having Kriegers get all of their stuff, and for a command point, getting the Cadian stuff as well. Those stratagems are all obviously good, and like I said, I've talked about them in many other videos, especially Veteran Sharpshooters and Purging Fire. But there are 2 here that I really want to focus on for this video. But there are 2 that I want to focus on particularly today. The first one is Mordian Minute. For 1 command point, as long as you've got a unit that is affected by first rank fire, second rank fire, you can increase the strength characteristic of all of the attacks from that unit. Now, this is used in the shooting phase. At first, you think this isn't such a big deal. But I went to a tournament recently, and I ran Death Core of Krieg, and I used Mordian Minute every single turn on those blobs. Every single one. Because the key thing here is it doesn't just affect your rapid fire weapons. It affects all of your weapons. You just need to be affected by first rank fire, second rank fire. Now with Krieg and Grim Demeanor, this is really good. Because like I said, you can hit on 3s, rerolling 1s as long as you've taken like 1 casualty, right? And then you can get your +1 strength. So it's like having, with Krieg, it's like getting the benefits of take aim and first rank fire, second rank fire at the same time. And then Mordian Minute is really good because of the amount of special weapons that you can find in a fully tooled up Krieg blob. Especially those melter guns. Taking melter guns from strength 9 to strength 10, even though they're not rapid fire, they still benefit from the stratagem. Taking it to strength 10 is such a huge difference in wounding. You will find that anytime you come across Space Marine Dreadnoughts, any other vehicles, they seem to all be toughness 10. And going from wounding on 5s to wounding on 4s is just... Look, it's still not super duper reliable, okay? Still, you could have a couple of wounds and you still miss both of them. But I have found that going from 5s to 4s is just so much better. Krieg melter guns with Mordian Minute actually do damage. They're not just supplementary anti-tank. They're not just something you try and hope to do a bit of damage with after the big guns maybe don't quite do what you hoped they would. They are actually a first line of offense, and I really like it. But as crazy as it sounds, I don't think that's the best combo. I think the best stratagem for Death Korps Krieg command squads is Snap to It. On the surface, this seems like a somewhat innocuous stratagem. You can use it at the start of any phase, one Astra Militarum officer unit from your army, and your unit's officer model can issue one order as if it were your command phase. By itself, this is a very handy little stratagem that you can use in a couple of different ways. You can put move onto a unit and then do Snap to It and change that unit's order over to something more damage dealing, like take aim or first rank fire, or maybe a Quillen's Eye. That allows you to have your cake and eat it. Get the extra movement, which might allow you to get the angles you need, get those melter guns into melter range, and then you can flip over to the more damage dealing stratagem so you don't end up trying to fish for like hitting on 4s or something, which can be a little bit swingy. Or you can use it in a more defensive manner. Maybe you move onto an objective with move, and then you wait until your opponent's turn to see how they react. And if they start looking like they're lining up a couple of units on your unit holding the objective, you go, okay, Snap to It. Let's go into a defensive posture, take cover, and hopefully that will allow us to hold the line. And the Death Korps of Krieg benefit from this in exactly the same way. Having move, and being able to go on a more attacking profile, or move and go into more defensive profile, or moving out, shooting someone and then going into defensive profile. They benefit from it in exactly the same way. But the thing is with Death Korps of Krieg is they can absolutely cheese this stratagem. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up getting FAQ'd, because this stratagem is obviously intended to let you get one order. But rules as written, Krieg can get 2 orders out of it. Remember the Krieg command squad datasheet from earlier? Remember how I said that servo scribes were actually really good now, and I was going to explain later why? Yeah, this is that moment. Servo scribes. Once per battle, when issuing an order, the Lord Commissar can issue 1 additional order. There is no stipulation that this has to be done in the command phase. Just any time that your Lord Commissar is issuing an order, he can use the servo scribes, and once per battle, he can just do an extra order. This pairs phenomenally well with Snap to It, because the officer model is issuing an order. So you can then expend your servo scribes and get another order out of this stratagem. And this is actually really powerful, because you can have a Death Korps of Krieg officer put move on 2 blobs, move them forward, and then use Snap to It in your shooting phase and flip both of them over for move to take aim or any other damage dealing order that you want. For 1 command point, that is phenomenally efficient, and I have used this in game to great effect. It really just catches people off guard. You're not gotching them in any way. They just don't expect you to rush forward with 2 blobs and then flip into actually being able to do big damage, especially with Mordian minutes at your disposal and purging fire and veteran sharpshooters. Yeah, that's a lot of command points you might have to spend in 1 turn, but between Creed, Leontus, or Voxcasters, it's possible to burn 3 command points in a turn and have a couple of squads really lay down the hurt. Bringing all this together, the Krieg command squad is greatly improved. The order bottleneck is gone, and the new detachment just pairs really nicely with some of the natural Krieg abilities, such as Grim Demeanor. If I was to sum this up in a single sentence, I would say that Grizzled Company fixes pure Krieg armies. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. What do you think of the Krieg Command Squad? How do you think it pairs nicely in the new detachment? And are there any combos with the Command Squad and other units that you think I might have overlooked? If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to go ahead and smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Redfield, 32, Jurgens, Miasma, Try Again, Bragg, RJ, Scorpion, Bonbon Vert, Lord Pryor, Nicholas Walsh, John Stubbs, Guardian, Varney, Sword, Fish Trombone, Picklock the Forged. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.